good morning, and welcome back to Coffee and Sports. This is the morning show powered by Wire to Wire Network. I'm the NFL genius, and I am exhausted. And to my right, I got the man who's sitting purdy, Mr. Mo Better.
Hey, good morning, Gene. Good morning, chat. Welcome.
Yes, I had a lot of football, a lot of good football to talk about today, and I was blessed. I'll tell you right now, I was blessed, Mo. I got to go to the Philadelphia Eagles game. I sat front row, 50-yard lines. Would never ever spend my own money and go that low. Like that was tickets for like $2,000 piece. We were directly behind. I mean, I was like a stone's throw away from AJ Brown, sitting on the corner of the bench, and it was very. I love the game. I had a great time. My voice is gone. I was screaming. The defense is incredible. Our offense stinks. And I find it entertaining to know that the Philadelphia Eagles are 8-2 with wins over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Los Angeles Rams, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Minnesota Vikings. I don't know why I had the Vikings. They're not that good. The Green Bay Packers and the Detroit Lions. Would you say that those are pretty solid wins?
Those are some of the best teams in the conference. Those are great wins.
And their offense stinks. And when I say stinks, I mean the Eagles' offense is probably bottom 5 in the NFL right now. This is the stat I heard yesterday, and it's insane. The Philadelphia Eagles, for the first time since 1935, won 2 straight games where they scored 16 points or less.
That's crazy. But that's a testament to your defense.
That defense was incredible. The question that I would ask you is, do you give more credit to Vic Fangio's defense yesterday or Dan Campbell's stupidity?
Oh, I think that's a shared experience. Nick Fangio's defense was terrific, but Dan Campbell was kind of like Steve Nash. He was dropping dimes. He was assisted. He was making some dumb calls. Look, to go for it that many times, you have to respect situational football. And I know that he's a gambler, but you know that old country song, you got to know when to fold them, fam. You got to know. You got to pick your moments. And I just think that too many times Dan Campbell played his hand. He should have realized early on with the way Vic Fangio's defense was playing and how Vic Fangio was calling the game, this is not the game to take high risk. This is going to be a defensive battle, and it's going to come down to which offense makes the most mistakes. Detroit's offense made the most mistakes in a defensive battle.
The Eagles scored 16 points the entire night. And the Lions gave the Philadelphia Eagles the ball in their territory 3 times. Going for it, a fake punt that, by the way, numerous people in the stands were like, this is going to be a fake punt. Like, I said it immediately. I'm like, they're going to fake punt this. And then they fake punted it. If it was that able for me to see, I'm sure a player on the Eagles sidelines and defense seen it. It was so obvious the way they were lining up that they were going to fake it. And the Eagles called defense stay, and you can see it right. I'm right there, right? You see the special teams coordinator going, no, defense stay, puts his hands up, defense stay. Dan Campbell called a terrible game last night. And if I can't imagine if that happened in Philadelphia, how much we'd be calling for the head of our head coach.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. If Sirianni went that route, man, talk radio in Philadelphia would be blowing up. Trust me, I know. Look, I like Dan Campbell, love everything about him. And I get that he wanted to take over the offense because he wanted more explosive offensive plays. But they weren't a bad offense when he took over. They just weren't as explosive, but they were a good offense. I'm not sure play calling is his strength. I think he's an okay play caller, but I don't think it's his strength. I think being a leader, being a motivator has always been his thing. And make the main thing the main thing. Be what you are. You hired someone to be the offensive coordinator. Trust that the guy knows what he's doing. I thought, like I said, in a low scoring game where possessions are going to be valued to the next level, and it's going to be about field position, Dan Campbell just made too many mistakes. The crazy part is, as many mistakes as he made, Detroit's defense came off even that much more impressive. Like, Philly should have had more than 16 points, clearly, because of the things that Dan Campbell did to set his defense up for failure, and the defense kept stepping up. Look, it was a great game. We talked about this last week about if you're a fan of defensive football. I get that both offenses were a little inept, but I think a lot of that was because of the defenses. I think the defenses were all playing at an incredibly high level. I would say this: I'm not an NFL play caller, but sometimes you can just simplify. If I'm Dan Campbell, the real simple thing that I would have made sure I would have done consistently over and over, I would have got the ball to Jahmyr Gibbs more.
I mean, yeah, they dropped the ball there. Jahmyr Gibbs had 5 receptions for 107 yards and only 12 carries.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I looked at that game. Listen, I'll Mo, I want to stay here for 1 second, and we'll talk a little bit more about everything else. But what bothers me about this football game is I watched the game. I'm there, front row. I've seen a lot of stuff that I probably wouldn't see if I was at home. Even if I was sitting 15 rows back, I wouldn't see this. But what's annoying about this game is everything I've seen about this football game was about the last play of the game where A.J. Brown, drew a defensive pass interference, which, by the way, was a terrible call. It wasn't a good call. It was a terrible call. Yeah, how little people forget in that game, the Philadelphia Eagles were out penalized. Like, they were called for a lot more penalties in that football game, including a 4th and 1 in which Detroit jumps into the neutral zone, and they called false start on Philadelphia. That would have basically iced the game. And if the Eagles do have to punt the ball, what confidence do you have in Jared Goff and that offense going 90 yards with no timeouts? I just don't, in my mind, I don't understand how that's still a conversation. Like, okay, great. I understand it was a bad call. I follow that. It was also a bad call on the Lions not calling the Eagles for a false start when it was clearly encroachment. Nick Sirianni was losing it. They had to have 4 or 5 referees over there calming him down because Tyler Steen got called for a false start, and it was so clear that it was encroachment. It was everywhere.
And the thing
is,
read
on TV, by the way, I didn't get a chance to rewatch the game. How did they read on TV?
It was the same thing, though. And the thing is, when they showed it on an instant replay, you could see he's in the neutral zone. And like the rules say, once they're in the neutral zone, the offensive lineman can move. He can point it. He was literally pointing it out that he was in the neutral zone, and he got called for the false start. I understand when a team wins a lot of football games, they get called. They get the conversation of they get generous calls. I've been on record. I've told you guys before. I remember when the Eagles played the Dolphins, and I got on here with Chris, and it was like 3 years ago, and I said the Dolphins got robbed in that game. The Eagles got every call last night. It felt like a fix. That was when Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle were in their heyday. Right.
I understand primetime games get ultra, like eyes are on them from all angles. But let's be real. The Eagles win that football game because of their defense and Dan Campbell's poor decision-making. They didn't win that football game because they got a call. And the Eagles being up 7 points. So what we're saying is, if we didn't get the call, the Lions were going to get the ball, do something they haven't done all day, and then get a 2-point conversion or win in overtime. Like that's the argument. I'm baffled by that.
And I get that a lot of people could go that route, but I didn't see it that way. And I have no dog in the fight at all. I didn't see it that way. I like you said, there were some bad calls that had the calls not been made, the game would have already been iced. That's not why Detroit lost a football game. Detroit lost a football game because, like you said, bad decision making on Dan Campbell's part, and the Eagles' defense was dominant. And look, the Lions' defense was no slouch. They were terrific. It was a defensive slugfest, but the Eagles outslugged the Lions. They won the game. They were the better football team.
Let's talk about that defensive slugfest. I wish I had more Philadelphia Eagles fans. They'll watch it on the rewatch, which is interesting. But well, here's one thing I didn't realize, Mo, and I fully did not realize it was this bad. Me being there last night and seeing how close it was, like you get to see like the warm-ups. You get to see how things happen on the bench. Like their offense is right in front of us. Like the bench in which A.J. Brown was sitting, I'm not saying I could reach with my arm, but like I could easily take like this and like hit him. Like just like that. Not even a full throw. Them being that close to us, I noticed something. I just didn't realize how bad it was. I knew A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts have not been on the same page for a long time. I didn't know how much they hate each other. They absolutely, no doubt about it, hate each other. When Jalen goes to the sidelines, he sits on one end of the bench. AJ sits on the other end of the bench. When Jalen's talking to the offense about like, hey, what we missed here, what we missed there, he's talking to Smitty. He's talking to Goddard. He's talking to Landon Dickerson. He's talking to Jordan. AJ gets the play calls. I was amazed by this. AJ will barely go to the huddle. He'll go to the side to where Smitty's at, and Smitty will relay the play call to him. AJ multiple times, stopped running his route last night. To the point where the owner, Jeffrey Lurie, had to go to practice on Friday and asked A.J. Brown to stop tweeting and going on social media complaining about the team. And A.J. Brown gave him his word that he would do that. This is a marriage that is destined to end in divorce. And that divorce cannot come soon enough. I genuinely think the Eagles' offense would be better. This sounds so crazy, so stupid, but I genuinely think that Eagles' offense would be better right now. And now if they can solve it behind closed doors, I definitely want A.J. Brown on the field, but without him. With him not playing. Because the tension, you can cut it with a knife. It is just, you feel it. It's like a feeling of tension that like, I wish I could explain on air better. They absolutely hate each other. Wow.
So, I mean, like you would know better than I would. I'm an outside looking in, but let me ask you this question, though.
Yes,
that relationship is clearly fractured, but is it fractured to the point where it impacts the locker room?
Yes. I think the Eagles' offense is and when you say fractured, I think fractures heal a lot easier than breaks. I think that A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts are clean breaks. I witnessed it on TV every week too, and I didn't witness it to the extent of what I witnessed it last night. It's a clean break. I don't think I've ever seen a sporting event. Like, so we'll go back to May. A.J. Brown got married. Smitty was there. Bunch of other Eagles were at the wedding. Jalen was at the Met Gala. Now, I'm assuming he wasn't invited, I'm assuming that because what they have stems from over a year ago, but AJ Brown made Jalen Hurts the godfather of his child. That's how close they were. Something personal happened, and I don't know what that is. And one day I think we'll find out. But I'm so perplexed at how a team that could be so special, like this is the Philadelphia area, Mo, has numerous 30 for 30s waiting to happen.
I bet.
Like, think about it real quick. Ben Simmons. That's
Oh,
a
yeah.
30 for 30 we'd all
Oh,
tune in.
I would.
Markelle Fultz.
That's another one. Yes.
Joel Embiid.
I was getting ready to say Embiid. Keep going. Yes.
And, you get the situation in Philadelphia with A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts. I would pay serious money to have an open dialect interview with A.J. Brown. Like, what happened? Carmen, I love that. Something happened after the game, or is this just ongoing? It's ongoing, but what I was just saying was I seen them. Like, we all watch on TV them not being on the same page. Watching them like children go to the other sides of the bench. Watching them not communicate with each other, not warm up. AJ doesn't even take Jalen Hurts' warm-up throws. Like, I think that's so petty. I don't know how that, but like Jalen warms up on the sideline before on each TV timeout with Smitty, with Goddard, with Jahan Dotson. AJ Brown will not walk over to him. The play calling, he won't even take a play from Jalen Hurts. He'll literally take the play from Smitty. It was baffling to watch that last night. I can't make the show all about the Philadelphia Eagles, but I wanted to answer a couple questions of what I witnessed last night and report it and just kind of give. They absolutely hate each other,
right?
And it's scary because I do not. And 8-2, beating some of the best teams in the NFL, Chiefs, Bucks. Yes, they were forcing the ball to AJ Brown last night. 100%, 11 targets. Jeffrey Lurie told him, throw the ball to A.J. Brown. They tried passing the ball to him on every play, and he was disengaged. But, it was extremely frustrating.
This is unique because I asked you about this off air, and I'll ask it now. This is the reigning Super Bowl champions, who I think, when it's all said and done, will be in the NFC title game. If your Eagles are able to repeat as champions, win or let's just say get back to the Super Bowl, win or lose, do you believe this is A.J. Brown's last season with the Eagles?
100%. I'd be willing to bet my name that he will not be on this team beginning next year. I'm not kidding. No, zero chance he is on the team next year. I genuinely think if he didn't have a $90 million dead cap hit, they would have traded him before the trade deadline.
And I asked that because I feel like A.J. Brown's ready to move on. And I feel like the Eagles are ready to move on from him. But it benefits both sides if they can be professionals and go out there and win this Super Bowl. Like, it's not like the rest of the league isn't aware of the tension or what's going on there. Like, everybody recognizes A.J. Brown as one of the top receivers in football, but you're not just getting the talent, you're getting the personality. And I'm just saying that not everybody wants to sign up for that. It benefits him to talk less and focus on football more going forward.
Absolutely right. Got to move forward. Still a sizable cap. And not after June. After June 1st, it drops like $50 million. So that's when he'll get moved, is after the June 1st deadline. But it is what it is. It's a really shitty situation, and the Eagles have to find their way out of it. It just is what it is. I do want to move on, though. We talked a lot of Eagles so far to start the show. A situation happened yesterday in Pittsburgh, and I want to talk about it. Jalen Ramsey got thrown out of the football game for throwing a punch at Ja'Marr Chase. These two guys were going at it like a lot of situations you see with corners. Remember Josh Norman and Odell Beckham?
Oh, yeah.
It felt there. Ja'Marr Chase had like an incredible game versus them in Cincinnati, and you could tell it was the Pittsburgh Steelers' identity was to figure out a way to not make sure he did not have a game like that in Pittsburgh. And Jalen Ramsey played his ass off. Jalen Ramsey got thrown out of the game for throwing a punch at Ja'Marr Chase. And there's cameras everywhere, Mo. There's cameras everywhere. There's cameras everywhere. If you do something stupid, it is going to get caught. Ja'Marr Chase was shown spitting on Jalen Ramsey.
I saw that.
The second time this year, we've had a real situation where one player spit on another player. Jalen Carter was not suspended per league officials because his ejection from the game was before the first snap on defense, and they counted that as a suspension. Will Ja'Marr Chase be suspended for spitting on Jalen? And should he be?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And he doesn't help himself when in the post-game interviews, he says, I didn't spit on anybody. Like they show different camera angles where you clearly spit on him. So I don't know how he's going to clean that up. You can spin your intentions, but I know if I'm the league, this is an easy decision. He's absolutely getting suspended.
If I'm the Bengals right now, I'm calling Joe Burrow this morning. Like, Joe, I really appreciate you trying to work your ass off to get back on the field. I'm going to need you to just shut it down.
Agreed.
Because another week of no Ja'Marr Chase, the Bengals are going to lose next week. They'll drop to 3-8 on the season. I just shut it down. Just shut it down, Joe. Season's over. Hopefully Zach Taylor gets fired and there's a new regime in there, but just shut it down.
100% agree. And look, to get back to the Chase thing real quick, I'm a Ja'Marr Chase fan, but what he did is classless and inexcusable. What happened was, and you alluded to it, he just dominated the Steelers secondary the first meeting. And like you said, they made their game plan and their mission to shut him down. And the primary was Jalen Ramsey, who I thought you could easily say that Jalen Ramsey for most of this season looked average or below average. And yesterday he looked like Jalen Ramsey, the Pro Bowl, All-Pro DB. He outplayed Ja'Marr Chase. He locked Ja'Marr Chase down. And Ja'Marr Chase, they got into it back and forth in multiple plays, but I think that's because Ja'Marr Chase was clearly frustrated that he was getting shut down. And look, I get it. You want to be a competitor, but you don't spit on a man. You don't spit on nobody. That's just classless.
Completely agree with you. Burrow was the only reason why he had a job. It's time for Zach to go. I agree. I do want to ask this question quickly, and I don't want to spend too much time on this game because it was a blowout. Is there a more confusing team in the NFL than the Jacksonville Jaguars? Yesterday afternoon, the Jaguars beat the Chargers 35-6. If I told you Brian Thomas Jr. is missing the game due to injury, Travis Hunter is out for the season due to injury, and the Chargers, who are coming to town off a monster win last week over the Steelers on Sunday Night Football, how do you think this game will go? I think you get a resounding the Chargers are going to win this football game. The Jaguars beat the doors off them yesterday. 35-6. It's confusing, Mel.
It shocked me. And I'm not going to lie, when I saw this game on the schedule, I wrote it off as it's a Chargers win. And I didn't know if it would be Chargers win by a blowout, Chargers win in a dogfight, but I knew it would be a Chargers win, that they were just clearly the better football team. And to see them get the brakes beat off of them by the Jags, because the Jags are a weird team. And it's weird how they were able to beat the brakes off, because it's not like Trevor Lawrence threw for 330 yards and 4 touchdowns. Like, I think he had under 200 yards passing.
Yeah.
But,
1 pick.
Right. So he wasn't special.
No.
They didn't run the ball particularly. I don't understand it. It had to be defense and special teams. And look, I know because of their injury situations, the Chargers have a thin line for error, but to get blown out by Jacksonville, yeah, I'm stunned. There's only one team that surprises me other than Jacksonville, and that would be Miami, because every time I want to write them off, they pull off a win. So yeah, but nobody's more surprising than what Jacksonville just pulled off.
I mean, another quick question, but is it time? I want to be in a minority here, but I don't think he should get suspended. There are far more worse things a player can do on the field. Plus, I don't see what's wrong with what's wrong with players being. I can't. Jory said called the Chargers dead batteries, and that's why.
Okay, yeah. Look, I'm with Jory. Look, you can't spit on nobody, man. Okay, I don't care how competitive you are, or whatever. You can't spit on somebody.
No, 100%. Do want to ask another quick question. I'm going to ask it a lot too, because I've been wrong plenty of times. I'll tell you where I was wrong. This season, I said to Kyle on sideline to sideline, I don't see it. I don't know what's special about Drake May. I don't think he's him. I'm wrong, right? Been wrong there. It happens. Brock Purdy. For a year, a full year, took me to a year and one game 1 versus the Steelers. And I'm just like, yep, he's a lot better than I thought he was. I was wrong about it. I've been right 100%. 100% about JJ McCarthy being a bust.
Oh, yes, you have.
He stinks. I mean, the Chicago Bears defense is like a get-right game for a lot of players that are struggling. Like the Ravens put up 30, the Bengals 42. Like, their defense is like a get-right game for any bad. If your offense is struggling, just play the Bears. You'll be fine. 17 points, and he was pathetically bad yesterday. I think he threw 2 or 3 picks.
He did.
I don't think there's a chance that he should be their starting quarterback next year. 16 of 32, 150 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, a QBR of 22. And Caleb didn't play well. He was 16 of 32 for 193 and a QBR of 23. So these guys hung out in the 20s, and a 1917 game happened in Minnesota.
No, Caleb wasn't great, but he didn't have to be because he had JJ on the other side. He was good. Like, look, the argument that people made to me about JJ McCarthy was that he makes winning plays. It's not always pretty. He makes winning plays. I was willing to listen to the argument that he was one of those guys that could be a game manager, that you could put talent around him and you could win football games. Brian Flores has not lost the ability to coach defenses. The Vikings still have a very good defense. The problem is their defense can't shut down the other team's offense and then have to worry about their offense giving the other team the short side of the field or turning the football over, which is what happens when you have JJ McCarthy as your quarterback. If they had capable quarterback play, the Vikings record would be much better. The problem is I don't even think JJ McCarthy's a game manager. I just think he's a bad football player.
I legit think that the Chicago Bears are the worst 7-3 team I've ever seen in my life. I've never, and Damian, I'm sorry, I've never, I want to go through this with you, Mo. This is their schedule. They're 7-3. They open up by losing to the Vikings after being up 17 points in the fourth quarter. Then they get beat 52-21 by the Lions, so they're 0-2. They beat the Cowboys at home 31-14. They beat the Raiders by 1, the Commanders by 1. They beat the Saints 26-14. They lose to the Ravens by multiple touchdowns. They beat the Bengals 47-42. They come back from down 10 points versus the Giants at home and win 24-20, and they win yesterday's game 19-17. They are the worst 7-3 team I've ever seen in my life.
Give them credit. They got fat off of really bad teams.
JJ McCarthy's way worse than Bryce Young. Bryce Young threw for 400 yards yesterday.
JJ McCarthy, I'm going to say, will never throw for 400 yards.
It's insane. Nothing against your Bears, by the way. I'm happy that they're winning football games, but yuck. There's an ugly 7-3 team. I want to move forward. Another game that you got to talk about, right? Like, it's one of those games where we can't just pass up on it. The Buffalo Bills had one of those signature performances yesterday where Josh Allen had 3 rushing touchdowns, 3 passing touchdowns. He had 2 touchdowns to the other team. I'm kidding, but 2 interceptions.
He did.
The guy, he's one of those guys that, like, I would love if he was my quarterback, because, like, he's such a gamer. Like, he never like he'll run through blocks, so he'll score. Listen, I don't want him to be my quarterback when the game is on the line because he might throw it to the other team. But the Bills beat the Buccaneers 44-32. Best game of the 1 o'clock hour by far. And 44-32 doesn't do any justice. That game was back and forth. The Bucs had the lead for a good portion of that football game. But when it came down to it, the Buffalo Bills continued. And they won without wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. Their wide receiver 3 had 1 reception for negative 3 yards. They had Mecole Hardman and Gabe Davis on the field. Gabe Davis, who hadn't played football in a year, and Mecole Hardman, who just got signed this week, were on the field for them. Joshua Palmer, a guy that couldn't even make the Chargers roster. Tyrell Shavers was their number 1 wide receiver. Mo, if I put Tyrell Shavers on a bulletin board, you wouldn't know who the hell he is, because I don't know who he is.
I would not.
And it's funny because Keon Coleman, he was punished for missing a team meeting on Friday, and he was seen dancing on the sidelines. And like I said, there's cameras everywhere. He's in street clothes, suspended for the game for missing a meeting, and he's dancing on the sidelines, like, just, doing the okey doke. Better keep your goddamn head down, kid. Your thoughts on Buffalo?
Look, like you said, signature performance by Josh Allen. The man scored, he counted for 6 touchdowns, and they needed all 6 of those touchdowns. Like, the final score is not indicative, like, how close the game was. The Bucs actually had the lead at one point late, and the Bills go on another run. They needed it because Buffalo's run defense is god awful. I believe Tampa almost rushed for 200 yards as a team on them. Like, they were literally running the ball down their throats. And it was a game where Baker wasn't bad, but he wasn't at his best. Great game, enjoyed it, entertaining game. Yeah, Josh Allen, I'm with you. He is an absolute gamer. He's a dog. I look at him and I go, Josh Allen is Ben Roethlisberger if Ben Roethlisberger was a much better athlete. He's that kind of guy. And I'm kind of with you also that I don't know if I want him late in the game, but he's a special quarterback. There's no doubt about that. And they it was one of those weeks where certain teams needed certain wins. The Bills needed that win yesterday. It didn't come off, but it was a must win for them, especially their situation, because they're not going to win the division. They needed that win. Kansas City,
they can still win. I don't agree with that.
You think so? I don't think so. I think
they're one game behind New England, and they play New England still.
I think New England's gonna wax them.
Okay. Well, that could be said. I still think they can win the division. I do want to give Jory a shout out because this is insane. I looked this up. So I looked him up before and said he went to San Diego State. And I was about to be like, all right, well, Jory, I think he went to San Diego State. This is how deep Jory is in her bag of Alabama knowledge. Tyrell Shavers signed with Alabama in 2018. He was basically almost redshirted his first year. No stats known to man. He played. I don't even know what he did for them. I think he returned a kick or two. He had 1 reception and 1 carry for Alabama in 2019 before he transferred to Mississippi State and then San Diego State. He's never had 1,000 yards. He doesn't have 1,000 yards in his career, in his career of college football in 5 years. But she knew Tyrell Shavers because he went to Bama. And I looked it up. I'm like, that's not common knowledge. That is how deep she's in her Alabama bag.
That's a deep bag. That's a deep bag.
That's like me knowing the 76ers G League affiliate. I don't know the 87ers. That's incredible. Great work, Jor. I watched her getting into arguments and debates with people in different forums, and they love to say, "Oh, you don't know football, or you don't watch the game." It's funny. I used to say that to anybody, and man, I cannot say that to her because I know she watches and I know she takes a lot of notes. You ever see that notepad? It's on.
Nah, look, Jory is as sharp as it comes. She brings it, man. Like I said, don't sleep on the knowledge. Don't sleep on the knowledge, not just in football, but in all sports.
This is absolutely a crazy statement. Damien, I love you. Keep putting your crazy statements in the chat. He says, this might sound crazy, but I think the Bills need to get rid of Josh Allen and draft a quarterback.
It absolutely is crazy.
That's
it's more likely that your Bears get rid of Caleb Williams.
I think the funniest part of that statement is he won the MVP last year.
Right.
It's just most valuable player. Let's get rid of him.
He talks about Josh Allen like he's washed. That's crazy.
Josh Allen's not washed.
Not far. Well, my point is, you're a Bears fan. I should hope that you would like Caleb to be remotely in Josh Allen's spectrum, right? I don't think he ever will be, but you should want that.
Oh man, there's a lot that happened in the NFL yesterday. I want to go to the 4:00 slate, and there was just a lot of good football games. But the Rams Seahawks, which I guess a lot of people thought would live up to the expectation of a high scoring game.
Great defense.
Sam Darnold, and this is what's scary. I think the Seahawks have a championship level defense.
They do.
They almost overcame 4 guys. Remember, the Seahawks had a chance to win that game with a walk-off 61-yard field goal. Now, granted, he missed it. It wasn't close. But they almost won the football game in which Sam Darnold on the road in LA against their division rival threw 4 interceptions. And the game ended 21-19. The scariest thing about being a Seahawks fan right now is, will Sam Darnold cost our team a Super Bowl? And yesterday is when it reared its ugly head. And look, Lions fans out there will remember this game. Jared Goff threw 5 interceptions at Houston, and they won the football game. But the scariest thing about being a Detroit Lions fan is, well, Jared Goff cost us the Super Bowl. This is that times 5 in Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold, he's played great football this year, but that Rams defense is really good, and he played really bad this year.
He did, but as you pointed out, when your quarterback turns the ball over 4 times and your defense only gives up 21 points, to me, that's amazing. That's amazing. And they did their job. Look, Matthew Stafford didn't have a big game. You rarely see defenses completely shut down Matthew Stafford in that passing game the way they did. Like, they were that front seven and that secondary did their things. Like, they locked Puka and company down. I think Stafford threw for like $150 or under $150. Like, that's insane to be able to do that to that team. I was impressed with both teams, but I actually came away thinking I think Seattle's still the better football team, even though they lost. Like, think about this: if Darnold doesn't throw any interceptions, or let's split the baby, he only throws 2 picks. Seattle wins that football game.
Ernest Jones was the player that stood up for Sam Darnold after the game. I just want to make sure he's not listening to our podcast because I don't want him to yell at us. He was very, very upset when he was asked about the 4 interceptions. He told critics to blank you. You know what the 4-letter word is there. And emphasizing that the whole team, including the defense, share responsibility for the loss, not just Darnold, who's been playing well overall. Ernest Jones highlighted Sam Darnold's strong season and insisted teammates have his back. I need Ernest Jones, the 4th, in the Eagles locker room.
Yeah, look, great teammate. Great teammate. And yes, you win as a team, you lose as a team. I think he said all the right things. Objectively, because we do what we do, Ernest, if your quarterback doesn't throw 4 picks, you guys don't lose a football game. Your defense completely shut down the Rams offense. And you had to fight against your own quarterback. And you're right, Sam Darnold, to that point, has had a sensational season. And I think he's going to turn around and bounce back and continue to have a terrific season going forward. But to go back to your earlier question, as good as their defense is, it is a championship-level defense. I do not disagree with that. Can you trust Sam Darnold to step it up in the postseason? Or if nothing else, don't turn the football over.
Completely agree with you. This is the fun part of the show. We're going to laugh for a minute. All the people that have been clamoring for Shedeur Sanders
to
start for the Cleveland Browns, you guys got a rude wake-up call yesterday. Yesterday, Dillon Gabriel was having a tough game. He had an 11 QBR. He wasn't doing great. 7-10, but only 68 yards. Took a sack. He got concussed. And in came Shedeur Sanders, who proceeded to have the worst game in the history of a rookie playing. He had a QBR of 2. I don't know if you know this, but they scale those out of 100, Mo. He had a QBR of 2 and a quarterback rating of 13.5 out of 158.6. He was 4 of 16 for 47 yards and a pick. I think it's time to pump the brakes, and we understand why Kevin Stefanski didn't want to start Shedeur Sanders. I understand why he dropped to the 5th round of the draft. I understand a lot more now on why Kevin Stefanski wasn't, named him as 3rd-string quarterback and, was bringing in competition. They see things in that practice field that I don't get the chance to see. Shedeur Sanders was awful yesterday.
So I always listen to you and Contrell and Shally when you guys break down games and break down quarterbacks. But there's something that you always say to me when you're talking about quarterbacks. You're talking about guys' ability to process, when you're going through your reads. And look, I don't analyze football the way you do, but you can clearly see that Shedeur Sanders is a slow processor. Clearly. And the defense was so brazen in what they were doing, they didn't even hide the fact we're going to blitz you over and over and over and over again. And I was just blown away how they were just open. They weren't even disguising the blitzes. They were just openly lining up with 9 men, and we're just going to come get you. And he could not handle it. The speed of the National Football League is clearly too fast for him. At least right now. Maybe forever, but he looked like a fish out of water. And for all those people clamoring for him, nah, he is not an upgrade from Dylan Gabriel.
I mean, I think that the Browns, I said this when the draft happened, I think the Browns drafted two bad quarterbacks. I don't think Dylan Gabriel is anything special either, but I just needed to put that out there because he was awful yesterday. It was abysmal to watch. And then look, I was sure about one game yesterday, outside the Steelers game, which was my best bet. And I called that a while ago, and that looked dicey for a little bit. But I was sure about one game yesterday. Sure. I was sure the Kansas City Chiefs would go into Denver and win that football game. The Broncos are 7-2. The Chiefs are 5-4. They'll get closer to winning the division or tying the division up. Mo, going into yesterday, do you know who had the best odds to win the Super Bowl?
No. Who?
The Kansas City Chiefs.
Really?
They're not even in the playoffs right now.
Yeah.
They went into Denver yesterday and they laid an egg again. And granted, I think Denver's one of those teams that has won a lot of games that just they shouldn't have won. And I can't look at it this in the same light. Denver won a game versus New York, which they had no business winning that game, versus the Giants. Denver won a game in Philadelphia. They had no business winning that football game. Denver won a game in Houston. They had no business winning that football game. They had business winning the Chiefs game yesterday. They played their ass off. They took it to the Chiefs and won that football game, 22-19. The Chiefs are 5-5. And as of before yesterday's game, they had the best odds to win the Super Bowl. That is crazy to me.
I did not know coming in.
Hey, you're absolutely right. Sorry.
Yeah, no, facts. What they just agreed. I did not know coming into that game they had the best chance to win the Super Bowl. But I'm not going to front. Like you, I thought the Chiefs were going to win a low-scoring defensive football game. I said that as good as Denver's defense is, we forget that Kansas City still has one of the better defenses in the league, and Spags is one of the best DCs in the NFL. And the game plays out the way it played out. I'm not a huge Bo Nix fan, but he did outplay Patrick Mahomes in that game. Bo Nix was the better quarterback in that game. The Denver defense, as good as Kansas City's defense is, the Denver's defense was better. I think the same way I feel about Seattle's defense, I feel about Denver's defense, but I have less confidence in Denver's offense. I think Denver overall as a team, they're having the season that the Commanders had last year. I think this is more of a run than they're a power on the verge. I don't see it because I don't have a lot of confidence in their offense.
I want to read you this quote because I love to laugh at Nick Wright when I can. This was Friday on First Things First. I couldn't be less worried. Bo Nix flatly does not beat good teams. The Eagles game is the one exception of his career. I think he's 1-13 in games against teams that finish with a winning record or have a winning record. The Chiefs don't lose to bad quarterbacks. They're not going to lose a must-win game against Denver. I understand they have a great pass rush, but I am not in the least bit worried. Didn't age very well, Nick. Did not age very well.
Stick to the NBA, Nick. Even then, you don't know what you're talking about, but stick to the NBA.
Bo Nix was 24-37 for 295, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Patrick Mahomes was 29-45 for less yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. I was sure that the Chiefs would find a way to win this football game. Sure.
And I think all along, all the people kept saying, like, once they get Rice back, they get Worthy back. That's all you talked about is their weapons. And the reality is they don't have their offense has been a pedestrian offense the last 3 seasons, and it hasn't changed. And it's weird because you know this. We touched on this a little bit last week. before I say this, let me preface it with I am a Patrick Mahomes fan. I acknowledge how great he's been, what he's done in his career. But nobody gets more grace when they play bad than Patrick Mahomes. Nobody. I don't think he was particularly great yesterday. I thought that he left a lot of throws on the table. He didn't look good when they needed him the most. I'm not telling people he's not a great player. I'm just saying he hasn't been great in my eyes. Not in particularly the last couple of seasons. They just managed to win games. I give him a lot of credit. Without being statistically dominant, he is very good at managing games and controlling games. He might be one of the best I've ever seen to do that.
Mahomes actually yesterday, I loved his post-game presser conference. He said, I think we're really talented. We have a lot of great players, but it's about being more consistent. I think that starts with me. There's times where I'm firing and we're moving the ball down the field, but there's times where we go into spurts where I miss a throw, or I miss a pass protection call. We haven't been consistent enough to win games, and it starts with me. That is leadership. I love that comment. I love that statement. I appreciate that. Mo, I wanted to end this show on a high note for you because I love you. I really do. Genuine. Talk about a consistent performance, a performance of absolute flawless victory. The San Francisco 49ers beat the Arizona Cardinals 41-22. Brock Purdy returned. He was 19 of 26 for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. Quarterback rating of 133. George Kittle returned back to glory. 6 receptions, 67 yards, 2 touchdowns. And Christian McCaffrey, 13 carries, 81 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground, and 1 additional touchdown in the air. As a 49ers fan, how did that game feel to you?
It was a solid game. It was a solid bounce back game, especially coming off of what happened last week. It was big because it was Brock's first game in a while, and I was curious to see how well he would play. And he stepped into it, and I thought he was really good, very accurate, had command of the game. It was nice to see them have a couple explosive plays down the field. The defense got after it. Look, it was a good victory. And look, I share your concerns. So, it's funny. I'm enjoying the victory, but at the same time, I'm always sitting there going, okay, that's 19 carries from McCaffrey. That's, you know what I mean? Because with C-Mac, it's not about his ability. It's about him getting injured, about us using him too much. And this is one of those seasons when he's been basically the offense, not just on the ground game, but I think he's our leading receiver as well. I said this, he's on pace to have 1,000 yards rushing and receiving. So look, a great win, but I'm still cautiously optimistic because I would like them to get the football to other players, share some of the load, take some of that load off of McCaffrey.
I feel you and I hear that. Last topic, last thing to talk about is the Super Bowl odds. I brought them up earlier, and going into yesterday, the Kansas City Chiefs were the favorites to win the Super Bowl. I pulled up the Super Bowl odds for this year currently after last week. Mo, I don't think there's more of a disrespectful. I don't think that there is more of a disrespected team in the NFL, but I don't want to tell you the team yet. I want you to try to guess the top 10 odds to win the Super Bowl.
Top 10?
When you get there, we'll talk about, like the top 10 best odds to win this Super Bowl. I want you to guess them. And a lot of them should be easy. You should just fire out the best teams in football. But you're going to get to one team that's not in the top 10, and you're going to go, what? And we'll go there. Go ahead.
Well, I won't get them all.
Some good teams.
I won't get them all, but there's Eagles, Lions.
Eagles are 1, which is crazy.
Seahawks, Rams.
Slow down. I get you real quick. Lions are 6, Rams are 2, Seahawks are 8 or 7. Sorry. So you're killing it. Keep going. Give me another one.
Patriots.
There it is.
The Colts.
No.
Wait, the Patriots aren't in the top 10?
Nope.
Wow.
Here's all the teams that FanDuel has listed as better Super Bowl odds than the Patriots. The Eagles, the Rams, the Buffalo Bills, the Indianapolis Colts, the Chiefs, who aren't even in the playoffs right now, the Lions, the Seahawks, the Ravens, who are 500, the Packers, the Broncos.
Mm.
And then you get to the New England Patriots.
There's like 5 teams you named that I think, at least 4 or 5 that I would not take over the Patriots.
They have them 12th. 12th.
The disrespect is real.
They have the best odds to get the 1 seed in. I'm not kidding with you. They have the best odds to get the 1 seed in the NFL, and they're 12th.
So explain to me, they have the best odds to get the 1 seed in their conference, obviously. Their quarterback is probably one of the 2 leading candidates for MVP. Their coach is
one, Drake Mays too.
Right. Their coach is probably right there in terms of being coach of the year. They've got a solid defense and a good offense, and they're not in the top 10.
No, they're 12th.
Because I like everything that Indianapolis has done this year. And I'm not one of those people saying like they're not good, it's fake, it's going to fall apart. No, I think they're going to continue to have a good season. But if you ask me, if I had to make a bet, Patriots meet Indianapolis, and I don't care where they play, I'd favor the Patriots. I'd put my money on the Patriots.
I trust Drake May more than I trust Daniel Jones.
Facts.
I just trust him more. I just think that that's the most disrespected thing I've ever seen. I couldn't believe they were plus 1,900. Plus 1,900.
Wow.
A lot of Patriots fans are going to make a lot of money if the Patriots win the Super Bowl.
Yes, sir.
A lot of money. Plus 1,900? Oh, my God. MVP odds, Stafford 1, Drake May 2. Offensive Player of the Years, Jonathan Taylor, Jackson Smith-Njigba 2. DPOY, Myles Garrett, Mike Parsons 2. Offensive Rookie of the Year, Emeka Egbuka 1, Jackson Dart 2. And then Defensive Rookie of the Year, my man Jahad Campbell's 4th. That's good odds right there. Plus 1,200. Comeback Player of the Year, CMC 1 and Dak 2.
Yeah, I could see that one. That's pretty close.
Is this like the second? I don't know. I think Dak's won a comeback player of the year before. I think CMC's won a comeback player of the year. I think you should be disqualified from winning the award twice.
If you've already done it. Yeah, I got you. Look, it just comes down to the fact what it really says is you're often injured, aren't you? Right? if you can even be a candidate for the award. Like C-Mac's been a terrific football player, but he has been often injured.
That's all we got for today, Mo. I'm exhausted. I was you leave the football game last night. I think the game ended at like 12:30. You're in the park, maybe 12 o'clock. You're in the car, you're in the parking lot waiting to get out of that friggin' parking lot. It's crazy. I didn't get home till like 1:30 in the morning.
Wow, that's crazy.
And then I wake up this morning, I hear these 2 morons in the chat calling out the morning show. I'm kidding, guys, but I'm exhausted. I'm gonna go back to bed. Maybe not. I gotta go to work. Probably
sounds like a plan.
Thank you guys for tuning in this morning. Mo, any final thoughts?
No, look, good chopping it up on a Monday. Appreciate the chat with all the energy. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Make sure you check out all the great content that we have at Wire to Wire Network. And make sure you check out the Sports Reporters tonight at 10 o'clock. Wire to Wire Network, we appreciate you.
Appreciate you, Jay. Thank you so much for tuning in. Appreciate everybody in the chat. And we'll talk to you later. Have a good one.